Okay, hello everyone. Hey guys, how's everyone doing? Hope everyone's having a great day today. My day's going good. How are you, dude? Okay. Guys, I'm also gonna have the business guide available this weekend for the new businesses on GTA. I'm doing good, Raymond. How are you? How's everyone doing on this Friday? Oh, hey, Jeannie. Hey, Tommy. Hey, dude. Oh, is it? It's really hot in the UK? How fast do you go on the treadmill? Usually, I don't like running. I'll actually just be walking, speed walking most of the time, and I'll be walking for like 40 minutes straight on speed 5 on the treadmill. I had a job interview earlier. Might get a job soon. Oh, I hope that goes well for you, Cayman. Hey, Marisov, what I really don't like about the new business in the safe requirements. You need a small, medium warehouse as well. You can't downsize if you already have 5 large warehouses. Yeah, and actually about that, Marisov, I'm actually going to be talking about that in my business guide that I have coming up. I'm actually going to mention that. That is actually really stupid, and they need to change that. Basically, if you need a small and medium warehouse to get the max payout for the safe, when it cleans out the money for your businesses. But the thing about that is, if you own 5 large warehouses, you can't. The mansions, I'll have a video talking about it too, but, I mean, it's kind of better late than never. That's what I'll say about that. Hopefully they're customizable. Hey, bro, always swing by every now and then and wish you well and give you some cash, looking healthy and hoping you're still hitting the gym. Love from Australia. Thank you, Jay. Thanks for the super chat, dude. Will I play Black Ops 2 before Black Ops 7 comes out? Yeah, I'll try my best to, dude. Do you play with viewers? Yeah. Anyone can join me. This horse is just called Trader Horse. I've had that same name for a long time. It's bought this from the Trader Pack. Counterfeit cash is better than meth now in GTA. Yes, it's takes 1 hour less to produce, 2 less supplies, and it's more profitable. Which role do I like the most in Red Dead Online? Maybe Moonshiner. Yeah, Moonshiner probably. My next video, it'll be during the stream, actually. I'll put out the next part of Ace Attorney investigations. Getting really close to the end. Hi, Patrick. How are you? I'm really good, Isaiah. There's the area for the targets. Okay. Your mind's eye part was funny. Watching your reaction to that terrible ending was quite funny. Thank you, Golden Stripe. Yeah, I can't believe it ended like that. Like, that was the most abrupt ending ever. That was just... It was like, what the hell? Seriously. Yeah, free roam, you play as this guy with a gas mask and a bra. Like, I don't... And the thing is, you can't even, like, steal cars. Like, what's the point? What are you supposed to even do? Maybe he's like a hallucination or something, Minion. Hey, Pro, I really enjoy watching your retail videos. I was wondering, can you tell us how was, your last week of retail? My last week of retail, there really wasn't anything bad that happened. I do remember this, that sometimes customers would, like, take carts, and they would take them, like, miles away. And, like, I'm actually seriously, miles away they would take the carts, like, literally a mile away, so many blocks. And what I would do is I would tell the manager, oh, I'm gonna go get carts, and what I would do is I would just waste time for, like, half an hour, and then I would tell the manager that the cart was just, like, far away. And I started doing that in the last few months I was working there, because it did not feel appreciated at all by that company. But the second thing is, I had a few customers that were rude to me. I remember the last few weeks that I was working. And I remembered that if a customer was rude to me, what I would basically say to them is I would say to them, you know, sir, you know, ma'am, I'm trying my best to help you. If you continue being rude to me, I'm not going to help you. And if they apologized, then I would keep helping them. If they didn't stop, then I would basically say, I'm not helping you, go find somebody else. And I wouldn't even care if they complained to the manager. So that happened a few times. I didn't get in trouble for that. And then the last day that I was working with a few people that I liked on the last day of work. And the few people that I was working with, I ended up ordering, you know, McDonald's for everyone. I would never work in retail. Good for you, though, Brian. It's I would not suggest it either. It's working in retail took a toll on my mental health. The one thing I will say that I am grateful for retail is that retail opened my eyes to how rude and nasty some people can be. Because I was very naive before that. I didn't think that people could be so rude and nasty, but it changed my view on that. Wait, what's that? Oh. Did you hear we're getting mansions in GTA Online? Yep, I did. Around December. Thank you, Feline King, for the super chat. I got a part-time job in a factory. What do you think of working in a factory? Thank you, Harris, for the super chat. It depends on the factory. It also depends on the company and the pay. But it's not necessarily a bad job. The thing is that working in a factory can, depending on the company that you work for, you can possibly be in a union, and you could get some really good benefits, and you could actually support a family working in a factory. But the thing is, though, is that it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just that I would say society, like, looks down on it these days. They think that, like, any kind of manual work, like working with your hands, is a bad thing. But it's not.
Dumb son of a bitch.
You pay those off as quickly as you can, and if you're able to pay one off right away, do it on that one, Alex, whichever one you can, just so you don't have to worry about the other one.
Sucking bastard.
No, I haven't heard about any glitches on Cayo Perico. I don't do glitches, though. How does the car wash work? Well, it basically connects a lot of your other businesses, and you get, like, up to, like, I think it's, like, 32,000 is the max that you can get in a safe a day if you link all the other businesses. And it's supposed to theoretically clean your money. Right now, each money laundering mission is paying out 70 grand, but that's because of the double money. But normally it's going to pay out 35. What are your thoughts on the indie game schedule? And that's the drug dealing game, right? So is that the game where he plays like a drug dealer? I haven't played that one. A lot of people have asked me to play it, but I haven't gotten the chance to play it. I'd watched that video, the one you made talking about Subway. Oh, what did you think of it, Nathan? I want to do a video on the crazy DoorDash guy. I want to do a video on that. There was a guy who came to a DoorDash driver came to a guy's house with a gun demanding a tip. That was just insanity.
Christ on the cross.
Why do you think GTA never has a returning main character? I guess they always want to have a new character every time, like a new story. The thing about the GTA games is every game is a different story. That's the thing about them.
No way.
Hey, you tell your parents that you're doing YouTube or make money on YouTube? Well, my parents know that. My parents are a bit confused by it. They don't fully understand it. They don't really watch any YouTube, but they support me. What about working at a gas station versus retail? A gas station is probably less worse than working in retail. But the one thing I will say that's worse about working in a gas station and retail is that gas stations are usually open 24 hours. And if you're working a night shift, you're gonna have some really weird and creepy people come in at that time. Also, I will tell you something. I will tell you something personally. Growing up in New York, there was a lot of 24-hour convenience stores, and I will tell you guys something. One thing I hate about 24-hour stores, I really hate them. One thing I hate about them, I don't know. This doesn't happen at every store, obviously, but one thing I really don't like is there was times I would go. There was a 24-hour convenience store that was like a mile from my parents' house. And sometimes I would go there, at like, midnight, 1 a.m., buy some snacks, peanut, potato chips, maybe get some frozen food from the fridge, stuff like that. And what I hated is that whenever I would come into the 24-hour store at like, 1 a.m. or 2 a.m. or like midnight, I would usually have the people follow me around the store. I hated that so much. And whenever they would follow me around the store, I would notice they were always like cleaning, like they would pretend to like, clean something up on the shelf, like move the stuff on the shelf, like face it, and then I would go in another aisle, and then they would do the same thing. They'd follow me, and they pretend to clean, and they're thinking I'm gonna steal. And that's personally, that's something I've always really hated. I hated that when people would just follow me around a store thinking that I'm gonna steal. I've never stolen anything from a store. I never will, and I just never liked that personally. People just follow me around like that. But I guess they expect it because people that come in really late at night are kind of creepy and weird. But I've never done anything bad in the store. But I just don't like did you ever tell them to get lost? No. I don't. The reason I would never say that to an employee is because it's probably the manager that's telling them to do that, so it's probably not them. But at the same time, I just hate that so much. Like, has that ever happened to you guys? You go into like a store like late at night, like a 24-hour store, and they just follow you around the store. Like, it's just I hate that so much.
Bounty's going to sell.
Do you know how to fix a glitch? My car wash heat bar is full and doesn't go down when I do legitimate work. Yeah, that's, to fix that glitch, you have to close your application. Completely close the game. Do not, finding a new session won't fix it, you have to close the app. It's a common glitch that's happened. Why are hyper YouTubers failing? Because they get annoying. I cannot stand people that are really loud, I just can't. You heard about the upcoming indie game, Sobakistan, the land of the dogs. You play as a journalist visiting a totalitarian communist country. I've never heard about that game. When is it coming out? What is Sobakistan based on? Is it based on, is it supposed to be based on the Soviet Union, or is it like something else? Yeah, happy Friday, everyone. My YouTube took off in 2017. I started doing YouTube full-time in 2019. So that's, When you go to stores late at night by your house in the Midwest, do they still follow you? I have not ever gone to a... There is a gas station that's a convenience store, and it's actually right across the street from my apartment. It's literally right across the street. Less than 5 minutes walking. And, it's 24 hours. And it's the first 24-hour store that I've seen in the Midwest. Because in the Midwest, there is, like, my town, there was almost nothing that was 24 hours, nothing. And so that's probably the first 24-hour location that I've seen of anything. But, I've shopped there before, gotten some food. But, I don't, even though I could, go there at, like, midnight or 1 a.m. if I'm, hungry or something like that, I don't know if I want to, because I just had so many bad experiences going to those 24-hour convenience stores where the employees just follow me around the store. I don't know if that's gonna happen there, but it's, it just pisses me off, personally. Employees follow me around the store thinking that I'm gonna steal. I just always hated that so much. I remember I was in a store shopping and the store wasn't closing. It was daytime and the owner followed me around the store and told me to hurry up when I was shopping. You should tell him that if it's not closing time and they're still open, to mind his own business. But he shouldn't be doing that to you. It's based on North Korea generals? Huh. How many hours do I have on GTA? 503 days on GTA. Yes, I will play them, Mr. Hopkins, yes. How much was the AC unit? The AC unit that my parents changed out, it was around, they wanted, around $13,000, but we negotiated it down to $9,790. Damn, this guy can run.
Just go to hell. Christ. Unbind me now, I mean it. Oh, you don't want to be tying me up? Big mistake.
Do I think flying vehicles will be in GTA 6? Yeah, like planes and helicopters, but not. I don't know about futuristic vehicles. That I don't know. Yeah, Bounty Hunter would be good to invest in first minion, Dave, but it's unfortunate that this game just doesn't get any more support.
Pay rotten for this.
It depends on what game convention, FTV.
Tying me up. Big mistake. Oh, shit.
Yeah, there's a new James Bond game coming, and it's the same people that make Hitman that are gonna make it. I trust them. The Hitman developers are great at making stealth games, so I think they can do a good job.
Oh, I'm done here. Kill that thinking whore.
My honest opinion, I prefer more Red Dead Redemption Online than GTA 5 Online. I agree with you, Alex. I'd like to have more Red Dead content than GTA Online content, because we've had so much GTA Online content, but it's not going to happen, unfortunately. This game's just been abandoned. It's...
No good.
25 to life, yes, I'll consider playing it. I actually have it on PS2. I have that game, I liked it a lot. Is Sniper Elite 3 worth getting? Yeah, Sniper Elite 3 is a great game.
Oh, shit. Bar.
No, Jack. Did I ever have Dreamcast? Wait, sounds familiar. What is that again? Dead Rise.
Just go to hell.
Dead Rising 2 could be great, bro. A lot of different story development happens in 2. Yeah, it is a great one. Oh, Sega. Okay, no, I haven't. I haven't had it. I'm gonna do a video on the mansions this weekend. Yeah, I'll stream GTA on Sunday.
Damn it, no. You gonna pay rotten for this?
My Ace Attorney part, I just put it out, too.
Hellfire.
Okay, wait until, I guess 3 minutes and we'll deliver him.
Unbind me now, I mean it.
Do I have hope for Black Ops 7's campaign this year? I guess we'll see, but they better not leave it, to, Warzone, because I really hate when they leave the stories to Warzone. Favorite gun to shoot?
Oh, shit. Bar.
My favorite firearm to ever shoot, I would say, is probably the SVT-40. If anybody knows what the SVT-40 is, it's a Soviet semi-automatic World War II rifle. That's probably the most fun rifle I've shot. I don't know about that Yakuza 0 Director's Cut. Is it coming to PlayStation 5?
Just go to hell.
Did you hear about the new Xbox Portable? Apparently, you're gonna be able to play new-gen Xbox games, old-gen Xbox games, and apparently Steam games too. I heard about that, but that means that a lot of games are gonna have to have controller support. And some Steam games can't work with controller support. Like some Steam games are just mouse and keyboard specifically.
Oh shit!
Anyone know what a Walter PPK is? Yes, it's a German World War II pistol. The Walter PPK is also the same gun that Hitler killed himself with. Hey GB, how are you, dude?
You gonna pay rotten for this?
Yeah, I have been playing Hell Let Loose recently. You know what I've been doing on Hell Let Loose? I've been getting better with the commander. That's what I've been trying to do. I thought Hitler poisoned himself. You're right. Hitler poisoned himself and shot himself. He bit into a cyanide capsule and shot himself. So it was both. He shot himself and poisoned himself.
Damn.
Okay, delivering. Do I collect any modern firearms? Two. There's most of my firearms are historical, but I do have two modern firearms. The two modern ones I have the AR-15, and then I also have the AK-74. But the AK-74 is from the Cold War, so I don't know if you necessarily count that as modern. Have I ever played Fortnite? No, I have not. What game are you gonna do when GTA 6 comes? What are you gonna do when GTA 6 comes out? Play story mode. No, I haven't heard of that one, Golden Stripe. Oh yeah, Jaws. That's an old movie, 1975, right? I think choosing between Mind's Eye and Saints Row Reboot is like choosing between Cyanide or Hemlock. I will tell you this, I at least enjoyed the story in Mind's Eye. I at least enjoyed the story. The ending kind of pissed me off, but I did somewhat enjoy the story.
Off. God damn! How dumb are you? Jesus! Help! 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 You scoundrel.
I might, Gunner, if I have time. I just gotta finish up a few things. What? Wait. Oh my god. There we go, okay. Yeah, Aiden, I'll help you on Sunday. Yeah, if I get around to it, Gunner, I might upload it on the anniversary of the game coming out in September, because September I'll have a lot more free time, but August I'll be very busy with Mafia. But I do want to do a video on that, and the thing is, when it comes to my review on 63 Days, I already know what I would title the video. I would title the video the most historically accurate game I've played. That's probably what I would title the video. Because 63 Days was probably the most historically accurate game I've played.
Goddamn fool.
The developers of 63 Days, they put so much research into that game. So much. You know that mission, I think it's the 3rd or 4th mission in the game. It's when, the Polish resistance used that captured German Panther tank to, liberate a concentration camp. That actually did happen. The Polish resistance actually stole a Panther tank, and they actually used the Panther tank to smash the wall in a concentration camp, and they liberated the camp and the prisoners.
Always better when they're alive. Makes it look more. That's the bounty, as agreed.
Do you know what an SKS rifle is? Yes, I own an SKS. I have the Soviet variant. But yes, the SKS, that rifle, it came out technically during World War II in 1944, but it was in limited production. Very few units got it in World War II, but it did see some service in World War II. The SKS fires the 7.62x39, the same bullet that the AK-47 fires, but the SKS, was a short-lived rifle. It loads through stripper clips, but the Chinese version, the Type 63, has a detachable magazine, I know that, but it loads through stripper clips, and it's 10 rounds. The SKS had the most use in the Vietnam War. In the Vietnam War, the Viet Cong used the SKS a lot. Mind's Eye is gonna have a sequel, I didn't even know that. I will be playing the Mind's Eye story DLC when that releases. But also, do you guys know what, do you guys know what's coming out in the summertime? You're not gonna believe me. In the summertime, there's a story DLC coming out for Mind's Eye. But do you know who you're playing as in that story DLC? You're playing as Agent 47 from Hitman. Because Hitman is in the same universe as Mind's Eye now, it is. And so there's a DLC that's coming out. You can look it up if you don't believe me. There's a DLC coming out where you're going to be playing as 47 or helping 47. They made it seem like you're going to be playing as 47. But, that's really weird that 47 is going to be in Mind's Eye. But I guess we'll see. And I'm really scared at the same time, too, because Mind's Eye was not a great release, and I'm scared they're gonna ruin Agent 47. Like, I'm really scared they'll ruin him. But I do want to play that Hitman DLC when it comes out on Mind's Eye. I do want to play that. But yeah, Mind's Eye is in the same universe as Hitman. It is. The developers confirmed it. How old is Agent 47? I don't think Agent 47 ages when he's an adult. He aged when he was a child, but I don't think he ages when he's an adult. No, I haven't tried a new target in Hitman. I'm going to. Agents of Mayhem or Saints Row 2 reboot? Isn't Agents of Mayhem the other game they made? Thank you, Captain Kirk. The Saints Row reboot was horrible. It was a horrible game. Hey Pro, my great uncle died in the Battle of the Bulge, and I was wondering if you could tell us what you know about that battle and what happened. I'm sorry to hear that, dude. You have my condolences on converting. But about the Battle of the Bulge is what the Americans had called it, but the Germans had called it the Ardennes Offensive. It happened in the Ardennes Forest in Belgium. And the thing about it is, it was Hitler's plan to launch that offensive. But the Battle of the Bulge, I'm pretty sure the Battle of the Bulge is the largest battle the U.S. has ever fought in its history. I think it is. Correct me if I'm wrong. At least land battle. It's the largest land battle I think the U.S. has ever fought in its history. But about the Ardennes offensive, that happened in December 1944, and right when that was happening, Germany was on the verge of collapse. They were losing the war. It was over. The Americans had already pushed into Western Germany. The Soviets had basically taken all of Poland at that point, and they were taking East Prussia at that point. And that's what became Kaliningrad later on. The goal of the Ardennes offensive, what the Germans were trying to do is the Germans were trying to capture Antwerp. And the Germans had initial success, and they did overwhelm the U.S. because the U.S. did not... One of the reasons that the Americans were so unprepared at the Battle of the Bulge was because the U.S. command got really overconfident, and they thought that Germany was on its last legs, but Germany still had one last big punch in it. And that's what caught them off guard, is that giant German offensive that they launched. And during the Battle of the Bulge, the U.S. was actually pushed back a lot, but then the U.S. had actually pushed them back. But do you know the main reason that that Germany lost the Battle of the Bulge? The main reason? They ran out of gas. That's the main reason. Because the Battle of the Bulge was mostly pushed by their tanks. It was their Panther tanks, their Tiger tanks, that led that charge, that led that attack. And the infantry would follow the tanks. But the thing about it is that the tanks ran out of fuel. Germany had no fuel left. So what the Germans were hoping for is the Germans were hoping that when they captured American depots, that they would be able to use that fuel. But what happened was, what they didn't expect is they didn't expect that the Americans were going to blow up their fuel depots. So we knew that the Germans were running out of gas, and when the Germans sent their tanks at us, we retreated, and what we did was we blew up all of our fuel depots. And the Germans were so shocked by that, they didn't expect us to actually blow up our own fuel depots, we did. And and the thing is, a Tiger tank, the mightiest tank of the war, is almost completely useless when it has no fuel. Virtually useless, basically. The only thing you might be able to do is fire the gun. But it's useless. It can't move without fuel. And so that was it. What the Germans did was, the Germans were running out of fuel because they lost Romania in 1944. That's where they were getting most of their gas. And the Germans had created this weird system for making gasoline, where they would take coal. They took coal, and they would refine it into gas. And that's basically what Germans were using for their fuel for their tanks. But they were running out of it. They had very little of it left. And so that was it, is that the bad weather, the Americans had air superiority in the Battle of the Bulge, and the fact that the tanks ran out of fuel. And when the tanks ran out of fuel, they stalled, they got trapped, and then we pushed back. And we countered the offensive, and we pushed back on them. But yeah, that was basically the Battle of the Bulge. It was the largest battle the U.S. fought in. And it was very unexpected when the Germans did that assault. But what Hitler was hoping for with the Battle of the Bulge is he was hoping that he would be able to knock the U.S. out of the war with the Battle of the Bulge. And that when the U.S. was knocked out of the war, that he could focus on defeating the Soviet Union. That was his goal. But here's the thing is, even if Germany somehow won the Battle of the Bulge, let's just say theoretically that Germany, captured all the fuel depots that they had, that the U.S. had, right? They won the Battle of the Bulge, they completely destroyed the U.S. Even if Germany had won that battle, they would have still lost the war. It would have been over. Maybe the war would have gone on until maybe they could have held out until July or August against the Soviets, because they would have taken all those troops from the West and, put them on the East. But it was only a matter of time. They were screwed. It was over. They were going to lose. But here's the thing is, that Germany losing the Battle of the Bulge, ironically, saved West Germany. Because if the U.S. lost the Battle of the Bulge, what would have happened is the Soviets would have taken over all of Germany. All of it. And so they would have had West and East Germany. It would have been one giant communist Germany. So by the Germany losing the Battle of the Bulge, West Germany was actually saved and prevented from being, under, East Germany and being under a communist regime. So if the Germans had won the Battle of the Bulge, they still would have lost the war. The only difference is that the Soviets would have just, completely taken over all of Germany. But that was pretty much it. They had no chance of winning that war. It was over. They were screwed. Do you always have that one friend who doesn't want to play any game genre? Because I have a friend who hates FPS and zombie games. I have this one friend who is very, picky with their video games. But it's not that they hate a specific genre. They're just very picky with their video games. Yeah, people have recommended me that I play the Danganronpa games. Well, they were probably trying to steal the drugs, Gunner. Hey, Anoak, how are you? What would happen if the Germans won the Soviet version of Battle of the Bulge? No chance. Here's the thing here's what I'll say to you guys. If you guys want to know how screwed Germany was in late 1944, everybody here that's watching the chat, you have a better chance of winning the Mega Million lottery than Germany did having winning World War II in 1944. Germany had no chance of winning the war in 1944. They were screwed. They had no chance. That war was over. Hitler was just such an idiot. He was in complete denial. He thought that all the wonder weapons that they were developing, that they would just turn the war around, that they would somehow end up winning, and that Germany would be triumphant. It was just all nonsense in his head. He thought that German soldiers were superior to, other Allied soldiers, and he thought that Germany was going to win. The generals knew that the situation was hopeless. The generals did. Rommel knew that the situation was hopeless in 1944. He did. The thing is in summer of 1944, when the D-Day landings were actually happening, Rommel actually told Hitler that you should negotiate. And Hitler actually said to Rommel that nobody will negotiate with me now. And he said that Germany is to win this war, no matter what. And that's the thing is you see how ironic that is? That Hitler was angry that nobody wanted to negotiate with him, but yet he broke every single treaty. He literally broke every single treaty, invaded pretty much every single country in Europe, and then he was shocked when Germany was on its last legs that nobody wanted to negotiate with him, that they wanted unconditional surrender. But that's why I say is that Hitler is the biggest narcissist in human history. The biggest one, definitely. Out of all, the men who have existed in history, I would say Hitler is probably the biggest narcissist ever. He was always so full of himself. He thought that he was a genius. He thought that he was smarter than everyone else. He would never admit that he was wrong. Have you seen the Ahoy Kickstarter? It's sketchy. Also, Mustache Man was so delusional that he thought the U.S. would surrender when Roosevelt died. Yes, that is true. Zero Blocks Productions. Thank you for the super chat. But here's the backstory behind that. I know exactly what you're talking about. Germany had a I forget what it's called. I have to look up the name of the battle. But in German history, it's called like the Miracle of Berlin or Miracle of something. I have to look up exactly what it's called. Somebody in the comments might know what I'm talking about. But basically, Frederick the Great had ruled over Prussia, and Hitler had, even though he was from Austria, he admired Prussia. He liked Prussia the most. He liked their military, their history. He was an admirer heavily of Prussia. But anyways, about Frederick the Great, he was the leader of Prussia, and he was fighting a war against Russia. This happened over 100 years before World War II. Actually, even more than 150 years before World War II. And Frederick was losing that war. What happened was Russia actually surrounded Berlin, and Berlin was about to be taken. Now, what ended up happening during that is that the Russian Tsar, I think it was Catherine. Catherine, I think, was the queen of Russia at the time. She died, and her nephew took over. Her nephew was more friendly towards Prussia and had basically called off the invasion of Berlin and made a peace treaty with Prussia, and that saved Prussia from being conquered by Russia. So basically, at the last moment, the leader of Russia had died. When Roosevelt had died, Hitler was basically convinced that exact same thing was happening. He thought that this was like some kind of supernatural event, and he thought that it was like Frederick's spirit that was like helping him, and he thought that the exact same thing was going to happen. He thought that the U.S. was going to pull out of the war now, and that the Germany was only going to fight the Soviets and was somehow going to win when Roosevelt died. But it was nonsense. It was like, Hitler just going crazy, being delusional, but it was, that's the backstory behind that one. Oh, about Ahoy, isn't Ahoy the new, like, naval game? It's like a new naval game set during the American Revolution, right? Where you can play as, different countries. I think I know exactly what you're talking about. Thank you, Zero, for that super chat. What do I think of the theory that Hitler escaped to Argentina? No. That is nonsense. Listen, there was a lot of top Nazis that escaped to, like, Argentina. Like, probably the most famous one was, Dr. Mengele. He was, you know, one of the top Nazis who escaped to Argentina. I think actually maybe went to Brazil. But anyways, a lot of Nazis had taken refuge in Argentina after the war because Argentina was very, Argentina was obsessed with German culture, basically. German culture and the German military. They admired Germany a lot. And that was the primary reason why so many Nazis had settled there. But anyways, about this theory that Hitler had somehow escaped to Argentina, this theory is nonsense. Because for one, how would Hitler even, like, get to Argentina at that point? Like, you know, the Allies were basically closing in on Berlin. You know, he was pretty much screwed. How would he have gotten out? And also, there would have been people who would have testified and said that Hitler had escaped. Like, there would have been somebody who would basically have said that Hitler escaped. Eventually, somebody would have talked and said that. The only way that I could have seen Hitler escaping is if he got in a U-boat, because U-boats have so much gas that they can travel very far distances. So the only way that Hitler could have possibly escaped is if he'd taken a submarine to Argentina. That would have been the only way, but it's still BS. And the reason it's BS is because when the Allies took Berlin, when the Soviets took Berlin, and Germany had surrendered, most people actually believed that. Most people believed that Hitler had fled. Most people did not believe that Hitler had killed himself. That's actually what the Allies believed at the time. And the Allies launched their own investigation. Everyone had their own investigation. America had their own investigation. The Soviets had their own investigation. The British had their own investigation. Everybody was basically investigating if Hitler had died or if he had escaped. And everybody basically came to the same conclusion, that Hitler had died. He killed himself in his bunker and his body was burned. The thing is, those conspiracy theories that Hitler had survived, do you know where those conspiracy theories actually come from? The source of them? There's from Stalin. Stalin was, like, convinced that Hitler was, like, alive and, like, had escaped him, and so that's where those conspiracies mostly come from. It was Stalin who made that. And Stalin had used this against the Allies. Stalin had claimed that the Western Allies were hiding Hitler, which was, you know, absolute nonsense, absolute BS. Like, for example, like, France was, you know, destroyed during World War II by the Nazis. You know, Britain was bombed to hell by the Nazis. You know, why would, like, France and, like, Britain hide Hitler? It makes no sense, but that's what Stalin was, like, saying. Stalin was saying, oh, you know, the French and the British and the Americans, they're hiding Hitler, and it was nonsense. It was just a way to slander the Western countries. That's pretty much what it was. So Hitler had killed himself in his bunker. And here's the thing: if Hitler had actually escaped to Argentina, he would have been the most wanted man on the planet in history. If Hitler was still alive, he would have been the most wanted man ever in human history. The most wanted man ever. I don't know what the bounty would have been. The bounty would have been probably over $100 million. But he would have been the most wanted man ever in human history. And here's the thing is, if Hitler had escaped, no country would hide Hitler. Nobody. Not even Franco is Spain. Not even Spain, who was sympathetic to Hitler, would hide him. The reason for that is because any country that would hide him, every single other country would invade them. So like that. So if Argentina was hiding Hitler, every country on the planet would invade them. So there's no way that, you know, that Hitler had survived and escaped. This conspiracy theories. He died in his bunker in Berlin. He bit in a cyanide capsule and he shot himself in the head. That's how it ended. One of my worst retail stories was back when I started working in retail, and so I'm from Russia, so my accent was a lot stronger, and a customer got pissed at me and called me a dirty foreigner. What? Oh my god, I'm sorry. That's, one idiot. I'm sorry the customer did that to you.
You are dumb as a mule, lady.
What do you think the Soviets would have done if they captured Hitler at the end of the Battle of Berlin? The Soviets would have put him on trial, and they would have made it public if they had done that. Why is the Korean War forgotten? I guess because it wasn't as long as Vietnam.
Come on.
Zach, here's the thing. Germany defeating the Soviet Union, literally, you have a better chance of winning the lottery than Germany had of defeating the Soviet Union. Like, Germany had no chance to defeat the Soviet Union in 1944. Here's the thing is, Germany could have beaten the Soviet Union. It's possible they could have, but by 1944, no way. No way. They had no chance in 44. They were screwed. They were done. About Germany, here's the thing is, if Germany had only fought the Soviet Union, no one else, perhaps they possibly could have won. But I will also say this. The last chance that Germany had to turn the war in their favor, the last chance, was Kursk. That was the last chance. Because at Kursk, it was the largest tank battle in history. If Germany had stopped the Soviet assault there, they wouldn't have been able to conquer the Soviet Union, but they maybe would have been able to negotiate some kind of ceasefire or something with Stalin at that point, because Stalin would have been running very low on resources if his entire army got wiped out at Kursk. But Kursk was a disaster for the Germans. So, people keep saying, what if Germany defeated the Soviets? Germany had no chance of defeating the Soviets. It was the last chance they had was Kursk. They were, pretty much screwed. Ahoy is set in the 1780s, but they've refused my request to see proof of gameplay despite it being worked on since 2021. They've already taken 400,000 from people. Yeah, I heard about that. But yeah, it's set during the American Revolution, because you can see the Continental Navy in the game. I know that they're a faction. I am actually excited for that game, but I do see your concerns for it. Patrick, you're like a history book of all this information. Thank you. I always thought the beginning of the end was when the US officially joined after Pearl Harbor. Here's the thing. Hitler did something really stupid after Pearl Harbor. You know what that was? He declared war on the US. He didn't need to declare war on the US, because the treaty with Japan was that if Japan gets attacked, Germany has to declare war on whoever's attacking Japan. But Japan actually broke that by attacking the US, and Hitler was so stupid, he didn't even realize he didn't need to declare war on the US, and he still declared war on the US. He thought that he could defeat the US and the Soviets. But, once Japan bombed Pearl Harbor, that was the end of the Japanese Empire. It was it. Japan had no chance of winning. Nothing. There was no chance of Japan winning that conflict. None. Japan could have actually won World War II. Japan could have. If they had actually stayed out of, kept America out of the war. If they kept America out of the war, possibly, they possibly could have beaten China. But attacking America, bombing Pearl Harbor, that was it. They were done. They were screwed. The crazy thing about the really crazy thing about 1941 is that in that exact same year, 1941, you had the two worst military mistakes ever. The two worst military mistakes in history happened in 1941. The two worst military decisions ever in history, and the two worst military decisions in history were Germany, Operation Barbarossa, Germany invading the Soviet Union. Stupidest military decision in European history is Germany invading the Soviet Union. That was the stupidest military decision in European history. Stupidest decision in Asian history is Japan bombing Pearl Harbor. Stupidest, military decision. So, it's crazy that both Japan and Germany, everybody thought that Japan and Germany were unstoppable in 1941. But basically, Germany pissed off the bear and Japan pissed off the eagle, and that was the end of their empires. Is that they both pissed off superpowers, and the superpowers ended their empire. What was the most stupid military decision as a whole? I don't know. It's either Pearl Harbor or Barbarossa.
just like I dreamed it. Someone help me!
Wasn't the Russian weather that took out the Germans just like the French with Napoleon? Here's the thing. Here's what I'll tell you.
Cut me loose!
Germany and France lost for different reasons when they invaded Russia. Like, people compare the French invasion of Russia to the German invasion of Russia, and they say it's the same thing, but it's not. Here's the difference. Russia defeated Napoleon and defeated Hitler in different ways. Or I shouldn't say Russia, I should more say the Soviet Union, because it was multiple republics put together that did it. But anyways, about it. Here's the thing is, the Germans were defeated by the cold. It was the winter. The winter had stalled their advance. They couldn't get their tanks and trucks unstuck. The Soviets had basically cut off their supply lines and they were trapped. The Germans were expecting to conquer the Soviet Union by Christmas 1941. So it was the winter that stopped the Germans. It was, scorched earth, the Soviets burning everything, and the winter, winter and them getting fighting on multiple fronts that ultimately did it. But you know what the French downfall in Russia was? The French downfall in Russia wasn't the winter. People think that Napoleon's downfall was the Russian winter, but it wasn't. You know what it was? It was hunger. Hunger was the French downfall in Russia. Because here's the thing. The Germans were not as starving as the French were. Because the Germans had conquered so much territory, and they had basically been shipping their military food and rations from a lot of those territories. So when the Germans were in Russia, they were freezing, but for the most part, they weren't starving. And if you count Stalingrad, though. Stalingrad, they did starve. But in a lot of other places, they did not starve. The French, on the other hand, they actually took Moscow. People don't know that. Napoleon did take Moscow during the Battle of Borodino. So after the Battle of Borodino that happened in September, what was that? 18, I don't remember the year, but it was Battle of Borodino. But Napoleon had taken Moscow after the Battle of Borodino. But here's the thing. The Russians had burned all of their farms, everything that was around Moscow. And so the French had no way to resupply themselves. The Germans could resupply themselves with food, with trucks and trains. Like, they could bring in trucks to Russia, trains into Russia, and feed their troops that way. But the French did not have a way to get, so much food, from the west back to the east. And so the French, the winter wasn't affecting the French. And the reason the French weren't freezing is because when the French took Moscow, they had shelter. They had buildings that they could wait out the winter. But the problem with the French army, the reason the French had to abandon Moscow, they had no food. They had no way to feed their army. And so they had to retreat. They had to find food. Because a hungry army is an army that's going to collapse. So that was basically it. It was the French had heat. They had buildings that they occupied, but they didn't have food. The Germans had food, but it was the winter that basically ended them in the end. So it was the winter that killed the Germans, but the hunger killed the French. So that was it. But yeah, that was the thing is love your reaction to Mind's Eye ending. Thank you, dude. I listen to all types of music usually. Hell Let Loose is a great game, yeah. Do you like Indiana Jones? Yeah. What's the stupidest thing AJ did in The Sopranos? Maybe starting the car fire. That one. '90s hip-hop was actually really good. Pearl, you are more knowledgeable about history than most of my history teachers ever were. Oh, thank you, Anthony. Speaking of flamethrowers, you guys want to know something really disturbing about the American flamethrower, the M2 in World War II? Something really disturbing people don't know. The instruction manual for the M2 flamethrower, the instruction manual, if you read it, It actually says that the flamethrower is an instant kill. It says it does not cause pain and suffering, that the person dies instantly from it. So that's what actually says in the instruction manual for the World War II American flamethrower. It says in the instruction manual people instantly die from it. It's a instant kill. It is a humane way to kill somebody. That's what it says in the instruction manual. The reason that it lies is because if troops know how much suffering it's going to cause, they're not going to want to use that. Why would you ever need a manual for a flamethrower? There's a manual for everything. Things break. Every gun has a manual. Every weapon has a manual, virtually. As horrible, as horrible as it is dying from a flamethrower, I don't think that that's the worst way to die in combat in World War II. I think probably the worst way to die in World War II would have been to die in a submarine. That's probably the worst way to die. Because here's the thing, a lot of submarines during World War II were actually disabled. And so there was no way for them to surface. Like, they were disabled. They were stuck underwater. They could not... So their submarine was so damaged. Like, one part of the submarine might have gotten destroyed, and the other part got sealed. And so they were basically trapped underwater in a sunken grave. They had no way of getting out. They were going to die of, hunger, or they were going to die of lack of oxygen. That was basically it. So that's what I would say is probably the worst way to... that's probably the worst way to die in World War II, is that... It's yeah. I would never want to be on a submarine ever. Like, ever. Nowhere. No. That would scare me too much.
Yes? Our clients are a little impatient for sure. We wish to make a good impression. These customers have shown they have some good taste. Their palate is simple, of course, but given their lack of culture, I have to admit that they have chosen well. These jugs will arrive quickly and in one piece. Yes?
Oh yeah, I would agree with you that the worst way to die would be from gas. Yeah, I would agree with you on that. But the thing is though is that chemical weapons weren't really used in combat in Europe during in World War II. They were used in World War I. The Nazis did use chemical and gas weapons during the Holocaust, but gas was not used really in combat against armies. So like armies didn't really deploy that. However, the Japanese did use that. The Japanese did use chemical warfare against China. They used gas in China. The Japanese also used biological warfare. They actually spread diseases in China. Like, they would poison wells in China and like kill thousands of civilians. Okay, here we go. For this, stop here.
Gotta do an inspection. Slow down. Gonna need to check your wagon for contraband.
I think Don Salieri was always a bad person, yes.
What's in this here wagon? Looks fine. Go on. Keep trapped. Can we get moving already?
Okay. Okay, here we go. No, I didn't watch Season 2 of The Last of Us. Oh, the Viet Cong were evil. Like, the Viet Cong were really bad people. Like, if you got captured by the Viet Cong during the Vietnam War, you had very little chance of surviving. Who is this, by the way, right here? Oh, unconverting, okay. The saddest death in the Sopranos, probably Bobby. Yeah, probably Bobby, I would say. Yes, I did, Michael, I saw that one. No, Bubba. Oh, enjoy your vacation, Brandon. Yes, I would, Nicholas. But I might wait until Mafia the Old Country comes out, because you'll probably see Don Salieri in Mafia the Old Country. How come Dominican Republic and Haiti are one island with very different economies? The reason that Haiti is so poor compared to the Dominican Republic is it's for, I would say, 3 reasons. The reason that Haiti is so much more poor than the Dominican Republic. The first reason is that France had run the biggest scam in human history on Haiti. The biggest scam in history was what France did to Haiti. So here's what basically happened is Haiti was a colony of France. During the French Revolution, a lot of Haitians had supported the French Revolution, and the French Republic had actually abolished slavery. So a lot of people don't know this. People think that Britain was the first major European country to abolish slavery. That is not true. It was actually France. The French Republic was actually the one who actually banned slavery. I think it was 1794 when they banned it. But Napoleon brought it back, so that's why people forget about it a lot, that France was the first. But France abolished slavery, and then Napoleon, when he came to power, had reinstituted slavery. There was a slave revolt that happened in Haiti. The French sent soldiers. The French ended up losing that. Haiti became independent, became its own country. Now, what happened was, France, after Napoleon was defeated, France had sent representatives over to Haiti. And they basically told Haiti that if you do not want us to invade you and conquer you, pay us protection money. And they basically what the Mafia does. They did that to Haiti. And they said, you pay us this, we'll let you stay independent, we won't attack you. So it was basically a way to colonize them without actually colonizing them. And Haiti paid that. And they paid like billions of dollars to France for over 100 years. They paid that. 100 years. And here's the really sad thing about this. France did not have the resources to invade Haiti. It didn't. And so the Haitians didn't know that. They thought that France was ready to invade them, but they didn't. If Haiti had stopped paying it, France wouldn't have been able to do anything. But Haiti didn't know that, and they paid it for 100 years, and then nearly bankrupted their country. That's one of the reasons that Haiti is really poor today. The second reason that Haiti is really poor today, corruption. Corruption. It is, corruption, the C word that is pretty much in, every country that has, massive poverty, you are going to have a lot of corruption. Haiti is a very, very corrupt country, and out of all the Western countries in the world, I would say Haiti is probably the most corrupt Western country in the world. Probably is. Haiti is more corrupt than a lot of Central American countries. It's even more corrupt than Mexico. So Haiti is probably the most corrupt country in the Western world. Third reason that Haiti is so poor is Haiti never built a very big resort industry like Dominican Republic did. So what the Dominican Republic did is the Dominican Republic reached out to foreign countries, to outsiders, to tourists. Haiti never really did that. They do have some resorts, but not to the extent that the Dominican Republic does. The Dominican Republic focused a lot on resorts, on trying to attract people to come to their country, come to our country for vacation, come here, visit our country. So a lot of people would come to Dominican Republic as on vacation, as tourists. And that boosted their economy. It made them very rich, made them a lot of money. Haiti never really invested in a resort economy. and that was another reason why it's poor. So basically, the 3 reasons Haiti's really poor: the French colonialism, corruption, and also not investing properly in your country. That is the that's the reason that it's extremely poor. My wife is from Haiti. She says that it's really bad there. Oh, I'm sorry. The thing about Haiti is it's Haiti right now is right now basically a mafia state. That's essentially what it is right now. I'm sorry that your wife probably feels really bad about her homeland, that it's like this today, but the mafia and the gangs basically control Haiti. But it's good that she's out of there, though, you know, because Haiti is a very dangerous place to live right now. Oh, great. Do you think Philippe Pétain was always a bad person? I know exactly who you're talking about. You're talking about the French World War I general, who later became the main collaborator in France when when Nazi Germany conquered France. So here's about Pétain. Pétain was actually a war hero in World War I. He was a very famous French general, and Pétain had replaced Nivelle. So General Nivelle was an idiot. Nivelle, he was like a complete moron, and Nivelle had gotten so many French soldiers killed. When Pétain came to power, Pétain had put in breaks for soldiers, no more suicidal charges, increased pay for them, and so he became very popular with a lot of French soldiers. A lot of French soldiers liked Pétain a lot in World War I, and so he was a very popular figure in France. And he was a very popular figure in France after World War I. When the Germans had come into France, they asked him to be a collaborator, and he agreed. And he was their main collaborator in Vichy France. He basically ran the thing. I guess the Germans wanted him to be their collaborator because he was a very popular leader in France, so there would probably be minimal revolts under him. But Pétain was a traitor. Pétain might have done good things as a general in World War I, but he ultimately betrayed his country in World War II. It's pretty crazy if you think about it. If Pétain hadn't betrayed France in World War II, he would have been known as a hero because he did a lot of good in World War I. He was a very respected general. He saved a lot of French soldiers' lives in World War I, but he ultimately betrayed his country. He was a traitor. So if he had never betrayed his country in World War II, he would have been a very popular figure in France today, but now he is universally hated because of his collaboration with Nazi Germany. That's actually the main reason that he wasn't executed, because of his service in World War I. That's why he wasn't executed. If it was anybody else, they would have been executed. But he lived out, I think, the rest of his... He spent some time in prison, a couple of years, but then the rest, he was allowed to be released from prison because he was really sick, and then he died after that. He was a very old man during World War II. But, yeah... Pétain is in Sniper Elite 5. In Sniper Elite 5 and Sniper Elite Resistance, you see propaganda pictures of him. You can see pictures of him, but yeah, he was basically a traitor. Would you say that Haiti is worse than North Korea? No. As bad as Haiti is, it's not as bad as North Korea. The reason that Haiti isn't as bad as North Korea is because in Haiti you at least have a chance to escape. You at least have a chance to escape. So the government isn't gonna shoot at you or kill you if you get onto a ship trying to escape Haiti. But North Korea, on the other hand, is so difficult to escape. So as bad as Haiti is, it's not as bad as North Korea. Why do you think Nico has the most executions out of any GTA character? Some people say it's because Nico doesn't get affected by killing people like it doesn't affect. I think it does take a toll on Nico. I just think Nico's a little bit more cold-blooded, but I think it has taken a toll a little bit on him. My favorite fast food restaurant? Probably Burger King, yeah. Did you know Haiti had a dictator? Yes, they did. They did have a dictator. I think it was the 90s when that happened. The dictator that they had, I know he practiced voodoo. If Lupertazzi's are New York and New York is bigger than Jersey, how many guys would Tony have under him? Here's the thing is, in total, the amount of associates that Tony has in total, it's probably under 50. Here's the thing is, Tony is very small compared to the Lupertazzi's. if here's the thing is, in the Sopranos, if Carmine wanted to, he could wipe out the Soprano family easily. Easily wipe them out if he wanted to, if Carmine wanted to. That's how powerful the Lupertazis were. The reason that the Lupertazis were not able to wipe out the Sopranos in the when Phil took over is because Phil was incompetent. That's the primary reason. He was a stupid leader. But Carmine could have easily wiped them out. But here's the thing is, the reason that Tony wasn't scared of Carmine declaring war on him and wiping out his family is because Tony knew that Carmine cared about money primarily. He cared about money, and he knew that they were making money through the Epsonad. I keep saying it wrong. The Esplanade. But he Tony knew that if he was killed, if his family was wiped out, that Carmine would lose millions of dollars, and he knew that Carmine was never going to take that kind of risk. And so that's why when Tony had Carmine's restaurant trashed, he wasn't scared of Carmine retaliating, at least not killing anybody. He wasn't scared about that because he knew that Carmine needed them to make money.
That was good. How much you know about my operation, my munition sales? I got a whole network of distribution. Yeah, but by land.
Well, Carmine was my favorite boss in The Sopranos. He was my favorite boss out of all the bosses. He was.
But I like it. Less bandits out there. On them my boats, they've been taken by my competition.
Was it a mistake for Tony to kill Ralph? No, I think that Ralph had it coming for a long time.
Them, okay? I will reward you, all right.
How smart of a boss was Carmine compared to Phil? I guarantee you, Carmine's IQ is probably triple that of Phil. That's how smart Carmine was. Phil is the stupidest boss in The Sopranos. Would you guys agree with me on that? That Phil is the stupidest boss in The Sopranos? I think he was the worst one. I think he was the dumbest boss on The Sopranos. He was incompetent. He was an idiot. He didn't know what he was doing. And the thing about Phil is, here's one thing that Tony understood way better than Phil. Tony understood morale. That's what he understood. And Tony understood that he needed to be with his guys. He knew that. But Phil didn't understand that. And here's the thing is, nobody is gonna follow a leader who abandons them. Nobody is going to. Nobody's gonna do that. And so that's and it's not just in the Mafia. Think about in general. Think about anything. Think about anything. Politics, warfare, even the Mafia. Nobody is gonna follow a leader that abandons them. Nobody will. One of the main reasons that, for example, Mexico lost to Texas in the Texas War was because Santa Anna abandoned his troops. When Santa Anna was getting overrun by Houston, he ran away. He retreated, and he basically left his army there. And when the Mexican soldiers saw that their leader had abandoned them, they surrendered to the Texans. They just all mass surrendered. So nobody is going to follow a leader that abandons them. But when it comes to Phil, what did Phil do? What was the first thing that Phil did after he declared war on the Soprano family? What did he do? He went into hiding. Nobody knew where Phil was. Not even, nobody in his family knew where he was. He basically just abandoned his guys, and he left Butch to deal with the fallout, basically. And Butch was tired of it. Even though Butch wanted to declare war on the Sopranos, Butch was getting pissed at Phil because of how unreasonable he had gotten. And Butch was like, screw this. I'm not dealing with this. And so that's why he sold out Phil at that point. Who's a worse boss, Phil Leotardo or Jimmy Pecorino? Jimmy Pecorino, because at least Phil had some experience in the mob. Jimmy had almost no experience. I will say though that I will say that the Phil's death in The Sopranos is probably my favorite Sopranos death. It's probably my favorite one, is Phil's death. Out of all the characters that died, the way Phil died is probably my favorite death in that show. Well, here's what I will tell you. Johnny and Phil, Phil and Johnny Sack, they both collapsed for different reasons. the reason that Johnny Sack had his downfall and the reason that Phil had his downfall is a bit different. The main reason that Johnny Sack had his downfall was ego. That was the main reason. It was Johnny Sack was a narcissist. That was his problem, was the ego. He thought that he was smarter than everybody, and he wanted to be boss, and Tony warned him, don't be boss because it's gonna put heat on you. Like, Tony, for example, made his uncle boss. Because he knew, but even though Tony was a real boss, because he knew that the feds would primarily focus on his uncle and not on him. It was basically a power move. Johnny didn't want to do that. Johnny wanted to be the boss. Oh, I want to be the boss. I want to be the guy that runs things. Put a massive target on him, and it basically screwed him over. Phil's main weakness was his emotions. It was emotions clouded everything. Whenever Phil looked at everything, he didn't look at things rationally. He only looked at things through emotions. Didn't Tony support Johnny Sack over Little Carmine? I guess yeah, in a way. They were more closer. Yeah, I'm thinking about playing the Indiana Jones game, the new one. Ben King does remind me of Johnny Torrio in a way. But Ben King is the best boss. He is the best boss out of all of the Saints Row bosses. He is the best one, definitely. He's all about business. The thing is though, is that, you know, even though Ben King is from Saints Row and Carmine Lupertazzi is in The Sopranos, if they had both met each other, both of those characters, I guarantee you both of those characters would have been the best of friends. Because how similar they are. Because Ben King is basically all about business, the same as Carmine is. It's all about business, all about making money. Not getting involved in dumb things, not getting emotional, just focusing on primarily the business, making money. Nico's fighting style is Krav Maga, the Israeli self-defense system. Oh, I didn't know that. What was Little Carmine thinking when he said whatever happened there to Phil? The thing about that is, there's a common theory in the Sopranos community where people think that Little Carmine did that on purpose. Just to create a conflict between Tony and Phil. Like, some people think he did that on purpose. I don't know if he did that on purpose. I think it was just more of a slip of the tongue. No, I've never seen that one, Mason. What's Zach's question? Okay, let's do another bounty here. I think that Christopher had it coming in The Sopranos. I think he was, you know, becoming a liability, basically, at that point. Why is Yemen dying while Oman is doing good? Because of Yemen's civil war. Yemen has been in a state of civil war for the past decade. What's Zach's question? What would it take for the Allies to take all of Germany, like no East Germany? Well, that wouldn't have happened because there was no... Germany had no chance of stopping the Soviets in, 1945. The only thing the Allies could hope for is they could hope for taking as much of Germany as possible so the Soviets weren't occupying it. Why am I still playing Red Dead if Rockstar is not supporting it anymore? Because I still enjoy the game. I like it. You know who's the mastermind? I do, Adrian. I uploaded my latest part, and I actually figured it out earlier, who the mastermind was in Ace Attorney. No, GTA 6 isn't gonna get abandoned. That's never gonna happen. Yes, if Johnny had offered Polly to be a made man in their family, yes, he would have taken it. But I would say this is Johnny was right never to trust Polly, because Polly was a snake. You know, Polly was was screwing over the family, talking behind their back. You know, the thing is, would you honestly accept somebody into your family who just betrayed another family? Would you do that? You know, if they betrayed the family they've been with forever, what makes you think they wouldn't betray your family? I'll thank you, Brandon. I'll see you.
Oui, à une autre, hein? C'est parti.
Okay, only 7 bottles produced. Okay. Have I played Izonzo? Yes, it's the World War I game that's set in Italy. Yes, I actually have it. I own it. Why did Phil declare a stupid war on the Soprano family? Emotions. His emotions. He couldn't control them. Like JD O'Toole, Salvatore never trusted him, just like Johnny, with Polly. Yeah, I would, I would say Salvatore probably made the right decision not trusting JD, but maybe he made the wrong decision by having him killed, because he still helped the family. But maybe not make him a made man, but, you know, do something else maybe for him. But but not have him too close to the family. But maybe he was wrong to have him killed, but he was right not to trust him. Carmela is a hypocrite. You know, she's surrounded by blood money but refuses to admit it. I think that Amanda was heavily based on Carmela, yes. No, I haven't yet, Zach. I know Tom Selleck is in it. I gotta check it out. In your opinion, did Tommy do the right thing to rat out Salieri and his entire organization? I wish the government faked Tommy's death. There was no way to fake Tommy's death because he testified against Salieri. Salieri saw him in court, so that wouldn't have happened. But did Tommy do the right thing to rat out Salieri? Yes. Yes, he did do the right thing. The thing is, I don't really feel bad for Salieri. The people that I feel bad for is I feel bad for like Luigi. I feel bad for the the guy who gives you weapons. I forget about him, and the car guy. You know, they really didn't do anything bad to Tommy. But it was ultimately Salieri who had caused it. And the thing is, Salieri had basically cornered Tommy into a box, you know, and the only way out for him was basically to sell out Salieri at that point. You know, Salieri was the downfall of that organization. Thank you, Mr. Jesus, for the super chat. Vinny, yep, that was Vinny.
suppose I should say thank you for handling that thing, eh? So then,
Paid killing,
you know much about wanted posters? You see, some of them say alive, and some of them, they ain't so picky. Now, there's a gang of misfits camping out in Stillwater Creek. I am picky about what happens to them.
Yeah, Ralph the
Kill 'em
mechanic.
for me. And I'll make sure you're paid what it is they're worth.
Who had the worst fate in The Sopranos Jr. because he didn't even know who he was anymore.
Go on.
So long, there.
Yeah, Morello was honest about it. The difference between Salieri and Morello is that they're basically the same person. The only difference is Morello admits who he is. Salieri doesn't. I think that would make Salieri even worse than Morello, honestly. Also, if you guys want to know how a horrible, evil person Salieri is, there's a massive hint early on in the game that he's a really bad person, but a lot of people don't notice it. You know what the hint is? Is that when Salieri eats with Tommy at that restaurant, he basically tells him, like, subtly that he's, he's controlling him by telling, telling Sarah to divorce him unless he stops drinking. But also, have you guys noticed that when the restaurant gets shut up, have you noticed that Salieri actually does not care at all about all the innocent people that died in the restaurant? He doesn't care about that. The restaurant got destroyed. Doesn't care about all the innocent people that died. No care whatsoever about that. Have you guys noticed that? Take one of them hostage here.
Stop there and state your business. Son of a idiot. Joe, you sprayed it, not today. Jesus.
Damn, okay.
Christ on the cross.
Yeah, I'm playing PS5 Red Dead. Are you releasing a money price guide? Yes, I am.
Mother of God. Ah, good Lord.
Probably maybe I Am Legend, Michael. Who annoyed me more, Meadow or AJ? Probably Meadow. because of the fact that Meadow knew that she could get away with a lot of the stuff that AJ couldn't. That's the thing is, Meadow was clearly Tony's favorite child. She was. So like Meadow could get away with a lot of stuff that AJ wouldn't be able to get away with. Hey, Big Sweet, what's up? Bro, I'm through telling people you help with environmental cleanup. Wait, what are you talking about? Do you think Salieri never truly cared about Polly or Tommy? He never really cared about them, no. Oh, well, we don't really use the cruise much anymore, dude. Yeah, you can join me. Anyone can join me. What do I do with this guy here? Actually, I think I know what I'll do with him. Did Salieri get out of prison? No. Think Sal knew what happened between, Tony and Vinny? Wait, who are you talking about, Angelo? I'm getting confused. Sal? Wait. Oh, you mean, I'm getting confused. I thought you meant Mafia. You're talking about Liberty City stories now. That Salvatore knew what happened between Tony and Vinny? Yeah. In Liberty City stories, yes. He knew. Oh, crap. Yeah, and I gotta still do a playthrough of that gunner. Oh, what she says to, about Jackie Jr.'s, death, yeah. You know, that shows you how evil Salieri was even when he was younger, Nicholas. You know what I'm really curious about? I'm really curious whether we'll see that scene in Mafia: The Old Country. That scene where Salieri tried to drown Frank's dog and then Frank punched him. I think, I wonder if we'll see that scene. We might actually see that scene in Mafia: The Old Country. Is Salieri family based in the Chicago outfit? I guess they might be. In a way, yeah. Do I consider Salieri to be a psychopath? It's hard to read Salieri at times. We might get a better understanding of him in Mafia: The Old Country if we see him. Okay, let's play some poker here. Public buy-in. Okay, here we go. Yeah, we're gonna see old characters. They said that there's gonna be... The developer said there's gonna be 5 characters from the old Mafia games that we will see in Mafia: The Old Country. Wonder what those 5 are gonna be. What's your opinion on electric cars? I'm not, thank you, Mythagoras. I'm not necessarily against them. My mom is considering getting an electric car when she retires next year, because her car, she wants to get rid of it. Her cars she's had her car since 2013, and she's considering getting an electric car because she wants to build a car charger in the house that she moves into a year from now when she sells her house, her new house. She wants to make a car charger in the garage, and just so that she charges her car when she goes to sleep, and she never has to, buy gas again. That's her main thing. I don't know. I don't really have a problem with them. There's a different way to drive cars. The thing is, if I was to drive an electric car, my main reason for that would be to save money. That would be my main reason. Because you charge your car instead of, getting gas. But here's what I'll say about electric cars. They can be very expensive. But at the same time I don't think that they should be mandatory. That's what I don't think. There are a lot of European countries, for example. Like, in my country, we don't really do this in America, but in a lot of countries, specifically Western European countries, I know that if you drive a gasoline car, you pay a higher tax. And I don't like that. I don't like that idea of, taxing people more for, driving gasoline cars. I've never liked that idea. So that's just my view on it. I'm not necessarily against it, but I don't think you should be required to drive a gasoline car. Poker is my favorite part of your Reddit streams. Oh, thank you, Ryan.
Catherine Smith is finally with child. She's nearly 30.
Do you think if the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth transitioned to a republic, corruption was the main reason that the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth fell apart, and if it was a republic, it still would have taken a lot to reshape the military and fix the country. It still would have been probably conquered. Oh, where are you from? Are you from, is that Japanese, that text? I'm gonna win this hand. Hey, Chris Player. Yeah, I know that, Adrian. You know who it is, right? Oh, he has ace 2? Okay. Was the Mexican-American War the result of the Alamo? You could maybe make the Alamo was part of the Texan War of Independence. That's what it was. But now the Mexican-American War that happened later on when Texas became a state. Here's what I'll say about this. The Mexican government really messed up in the Mexican-American War. Because the United States, what the United States basically did in the Mexican-American War is they baited Mexico into attacking them. That's basically what happened. So the United States wanted Mexico to attack them, so that they could basically take huge parts of Mexico and annex it. That was James Polk. I think it was Polk who was the president at the time when that was the thing. The American president, what he did to trick Mexico is he sent a lot of American soldiers to that Texas border, knowing that would piss off the Mexican soldiers that are there. And the Mexican soldiers started firing at the American soldiers and then crossed into Texas. And then the U.S. basically had their excuse for fighting Mexico and then beat Mexico in that war. And that's basically how we acquired California, Arizona, New Mexico, Utah, and Colorado through that war.
Like Pastor Atkinson had some words with the sheriff. It turned
Okay, I'll see you, Golden Stripes. Take care, man.
Oh, my.
No, they're not. They're not separated. The reason I'm saying my mom is because it's mainly my mom's idea to move. My dad doesn't really want to move, but it's mainly my mom's idea. Yeah, I'll have another Brothers in Arms part out tomorrow. I'm folding here. These cards are bad. By the way, Gunner, in Brothers in Arms Road to Hill 30, are you able to command each soldier individually or not? Let's see what cards we get here. By the way, Gunner, have you played Hell Let Loose? Because if you really like Brothers in Arms, I think you would really like Hell Let Loose. Hey, Venge, how are you, dude? My playthrough brings back memories of it. Yeah. I've never played those games, but I do remember when they came out. King and a 3. Okay. You can perform takedowns on enemy tanks by pressing F when you're next to them, huh? Do I have to be, like, behind the tank or something? Folding. For me, it's 11:20 right now. I haven't played Battlefield 1 in, like, 2 years, yeah. I know they had a boss that, I think it was Big Jim Colosimo. That was their boss that they killed, Menace. Thank you, And. I live in a European city. They're always pushing for electric cars here. Free parking, tax-free, cheap charging compared to gas. There's no way to escape it. Here's what I'll tell you. The people pushing those policies most of the time, do you know who those people are? It's mostly city people. City people are mostly the people who are oftentimes pushing, like, those policies and, like, punishing people who, like, drive gasoline cars. What they don't understand is that people in the countryside drive gasoline cars, and they use gasoline vehicles, mostly for farming equipment specifically. So in the countryside, you're not going to be able to find, like, you're not going to be able to find electric cars like you would, in the cities. I remember there was a guy on, I played co-op on Sniper Elite 4 with this British guy, I remember, a couple of years ago, and we were talking about both of our countries, and I remember he was talking more about the electric cars, and he was talking about how, like, you know, that in America there isn't enough regulation on this stuff, and I told him, I was trying to explain to him basically, like, where I live, like, you know, my part of the country, why electric cars wouldn't work, but he was not listening. He wasn't, like, yelling at me, but he wasn't, like, he didn't seem to listen to me. But basically, here's the thing. I live in the upper Midwest, and where I live in the upper Midwest, do you know what the coldest day that I've ever seen? -40 Fahrenheit. And -40 Fahrenheit, in Europe, that would be -40 Celsius. I think it's the same thing, -40 Fahrenheit, -40 Celsius. That was the coldest day I've ever seen. I've never seen a colder day in my life than that. That's the coldest. I didn't go outside during that, but that was the coldest day that I've ever seen. So, you know, my part of the Midwest, it can get really cold in the winter time. And I will tell you this, that an electric car would not last. Everybody drives, like, pickup trucks. Everybody drives, like, SUVs. An electric car would not last out here. It would not. It would not. It would be basically screwed over. Right now, I'm visiting family for my birthday, so I'm still here in New York for some time. But I do live in the upper Midwest. But the place that I live at it can be very cold, and an electric car, Fahrenheit and Celsius aren't the same. That's true, they aren't. But I think that -40 Fahrenheit, I think, is -40 Celsius. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong on that. Can somebody look that up? If -40 Fahrenheit is -40 Celsius, I think it is. But that's why I was saying it's the same thing there. But at least that temperature. But yes, and here's the thing is, as a truck driver, I'm 100% against electric vehicles. Yeah, and here's what I'll tell you about this too. There are no charging stations where I live. There are in the town that I live in, there are charging stations, but they're at gas stations. But here's the thing is, when you leave my town, right, the town that I live in, if you leave my town, you'll find a few towns that are, like, surrounding the area, but then after you get out of that area, you can drive, like, 50 miles, probably even more, like 100 miles, and there will be no towns for, like, 100 miles. It is just the middle of nowhere. And basically, what it's like, there's no forest or anything, it's just flat land, just fields. So, like, imagine for, like, 100 miles, it's like a straight road, and there is no towns or anything else like that. And my question is, where the hell would you charge, like, an electric car like that? Like, where exactly? And I will tell you this, I've stopped in, like, really small gas stations in the middle of nowhere, like, in these really small towns. And when I stop in these, like, really small towns, they're in the middle of nowhere, the gas pumps that I've seen, these gas pumps are, like, from the 1970s. That's how old these gas pumps are. There's, like, they're not even electronic pumps. A lot of these pumps that I've seen. And so where the hell are you going to build, like, the charging stations? But that's what people don't understand, is that there are a lot of places where electric vehicles would not work. And, like, specifically, like, in my region where I live, my state, if you got everybody to drive electric cars, it would be a disaster. The state would fall apart. That's what people don't understand. People think that everybody can drive an electric car, but, like, in my area, it would be a disaster. And also, I'm not an expert on this, but I'm pretty sure that a gasoline car can handle the extreme cold better than an electric car. So that's what I'll say about that too. Why can't we use gas-electric hybrids? I never said that they're bad. The only thing I said is it's unreasonable to expect everybody to drive an electric car. It is.
How is everything?
Pretty good. Thanks for asking.
I'm happy for you.
No, he wasn't, Ryan. But yeah, and here's what the thing is the problem with this is that when you point stuff like this out, right? When you point stuff like this out and you say not every single place can use an electric car, not every area can have electric cars. When you point this stuff out, there are people that get extremely defensive about this, and they attack you, and they say, oh, you're denying climate change. That's what they'll say. They say, oh, you're saying that climate change is a hoax. It's like, no, I never said that. The only thing I said is I said that there are certain places where electric cars will not work. They're like, do you guys think that an electric car would work in minus, 40, 30 degrees? I don't know. I'm not a car expert, but I can assume it would have problems. So, and the fact that it's also, there's very few people that live out here, that there's very few charging stations, it would just not work. It would be a disaster. But there are people out there that don't understand that, and they basically, whenever you bring up this stuff, there will be people that will say, oh, you're denying climate change, or you think that climate change is a hoax. No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying it's unreasonable to think that everybody should be driving an electric car. And I don't think that taxing people for driving gasoline cars is the right thing to do, because here's the thing is, do you know what studies have shown? People that drive electric cars on average make more money than people who drive gasoline cars. Studies have shown this, and I think that there is a correlation here. Electric cars tend to be more expensive. They tend to be more modern than gasoline cars. That's why people who drive electric cars make more money. And if you're going to tax people who drive, gasoline cars, what you're essentially doing is you're essentially putting a tax on the poor. That's essentially what you're doing. It is a tax on the poor. That's why France had those really bad protests a couple of years ago, like the Yellow Jackets, because people were pissed about the government putting this tax on gasoline there. And most of the people that live in the countryside in France, are farmers, and and they don't have as much money as the people that live in cities like Paris. And so a lot of the farmers in France, they got pissed, and they said, this is not fair to us. We're gonna have to pay, higher tax, and they went out and did that Yellow Jacket protest. But yeah, that's what I'll say. And yeah, there is the advantage that electric cars take time to charge. A gasoline car, fill it up in a few minutes, you're good to go. That's it. But not everybody can be expected to drive an electric car, and I wish that people understood this, and they wouldn't blame people and say, oh, you're denying climate change. No, it's not. The Panzerfaust. Oh, those things are strong. That shape charge. Yeah, I don't know if the electric cars, I don't know how their engines work. Like I said, I'm not a car guy. The only thing I can tell you is that not everybody can drive an electric car. Yeah, I agree with you, Bach, and people should be able to drive what kind of car they want. How would people in the countryside react if gasoline cars were banned? In my region, if gasoline cars were banned in my state, it would make the state economy fall apart. The state economy would completely fall apart, and not only that, you would probably have massive protests. They could possibly even turn into riots. People make a living off of their gasoline cars, especially in the farming equipment. They use a lot of farming vehicles that use gasoline. And, I live in a very rural state. It's a very farming state. It would, people be very pissed, very angry. No, I don't think they will, Blinded Eagle. What about using gas-electric hybrids? I mean, you get the best of both. I don't know that much about them. I'm not against them. Thanks, Pro. I'm from Montana. Electric cars do not work up here unless it's in the cities. I hate the whole argument and mindset of electric cars. Thank you, Bakken. Yeah, and I know exactly what you mean. Is that it's the people that are pushing this stuff, like this forcing everybody to drive an electric car. The people that are pushing this are most of the time people that live in cities. They've never really been in the countryside, in small towns. They don't understand that most people in the rural communities drive gasoline cars.
There's some sickness going on in Armadillo. Folk are dying left and right.
Yes, I know. I heard. I've not seen your cars. I've been getting some terrible hands here.
What is even going on right now?
Really now.
Is it like frozen or something?
Well,
I think it's frozen. I guess I'll probably just leave here. But I guess I'll probably be wrapping up the stream. I know I'm finishing a little earlier, but on Sunday I'll do a longer stream, I promise, guys. It's just I still have that guide to make tonight. So tonight I'm making the Money Fronts guide for people wondering. I gotta edit it, so I'm gonna have some dinner right now and finish up that guide so that I hopefully can have that out for you guys tomorrow. Because I know a lot of people have been asking me for that Money Fronts guide. Thank you, Generals Alert. I'll see you. Not really, not a lot of stuff makes me, cry. Okay, I'll see you, Zach. Probably have soup. Probably have soup for dinner. Okay, I'll see you, Emu.
something slip your mind?
Okay, guys, thank you for hanging out with me. This weekend, I'm gonna have the Money Fronts business guide. So thank you guys for hanging out with me. Men of Valor also worked on Medal of Honor Allied Assault. Oh, I gotta play Allied Assault also, too. But, thank you guys for, hanging out with me. If you guys enjoyed the stream, do drop a like, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Take care, everyone. Have a wonderful day, guys. Have a wonderful weekend also.